Good morning, everyone. My name is Preet Devgare from Amravati, Maharashtra, and the topic we are going to study today is endocrine system versus exocrine system. So, endocrine system versus exocrine. So, we can make a clear-cut distinction between them. Okay. So, as the name suggests, endo and exo. So you can take a guess on these two words. Endo means internal or inside, exo means external or outside. Okay, but we will try to understand in depth what is endocrine and exocrine. So endocrine system is considered as ductless system. So before going to the function of ductless system, we will try to understand what is a duct. Okay, so any channel or tube like structure which has opening is duct. Okay, and which is used for secretion of something. What is something? Maybe proteins of any kind, like hormones. Specifically in this case, hormones are also proteins. So any chemical, in this case hormone, if are secreted by a tube like structure or a channel like structure, then it is a duct. But endocrine system does not have duct, whereas exocrine system is having duct. So it has duct for the secretion, and endocrine does not have duct. Now if it does not have duct, where does it secretes the hormone? So it will pour the hormone in the blood circulatory system. Before going into that, let's understand what is hormone. So hormone is non-nutritious, intercellular messenger, released in trace amount. Trace means very small amount. So non-nutritious. If I am saying that hormone is actually a protein, we have learned that protein can be an enzyme, can be a hormone. So if hormone in nature itself is a protein, why protein is non-nutritious? Proteins are supposed to be a source of nutrition. Then why it is non-nutritious? Because if hormones are flowing through your circulatory system and assume that they are attacked by protein breaking enzymes like peptidase or protease, then they will be broken down into smaller pieces, and the message that they are carrying between cells, intercellular, the message that they are carrying between cells from one part to the other part of the body, that will never be carried because they are getting attacked. We do not want that attack to happen. So it is like in when there were kings and kingdoms, the messengers were never attacked. They were protected. All the kingdoms were sharing a common rule that messengers will never be attacked. Otherwise, there will go, even if there is war going on, still the messengers will not get attacked. So the same kind of rule is followed by your body, that intercellular messengers should not get attacked by protein digesting enzymes. So it is not considered as a source of nutrition. Okay, non-nutritious, intercellular messenger, and they are released in trace amount because very trace amount is necessary to carry that message. Large amount is not even required. So that's why they are released in trace amount. So this is hormone. Okay, now we will compare both of them. Now suppose let's consider a gland, for example pituitary gland, and I am saying it does not have a duct. So whatever it secretes, it will be poured in blood circulatory system. So the secretion from this anterior pituitary adenohypophysis will enter in the blood. The secretion is poured in blood and carried to its respective target organ. Whereas if you see exocrine gland, it has a duct. So suppose this is a surface of any internal organ or skin surface, and these are cells of the exocrine gland. So these cells will release a chemical of any kind, whatever is the kind of exocrine gland, that kind of respective chemical will be released. And when it is released, the chemical flows through this channel. It looks like a tube, okay, and then the chemical is released on the surface, okay. So examples can be sweat released on skin surface. Another example can be sebaceous gland, sebum, which is oily secretion for the protection of skin. So let's write some examples. Sebaceous gland, which secretes sebum. Then there is sweat gland, which secretes sweat. Then there is lacrimal gland. In locomotion chapter we have seen lacrimal bone here. So here there is lacrimal gland which releases tears, okay. Then there is liver. Now see, when we say exo, it does not necessarily mean outside the body, okay, because liver is not secreting anything outside the body or on the skin surface. It is secreting its secretion outside the organ. Liver is an organ. It is secreting the secretion outside the organ. So outside skin surface only, is it true? No. Outside organ or outside organ system you can say, or skin surface. So exo has a wider meaning here. Liver. Now liver will secrete bile, which will be stored in the bile duct, gallbladder. Then you can say, now pay attention, pancreas is considered as heterocrine, so it has exocrine function also, endocrine function also. I will tell you about pancreas later. For now we will write it. I will come back to it later. Okay. Then there is mammary gland for the secretion of milk, okay. All these glands and some other glands are there which are considered in salivary gland is also there. Which secretes saliva. Okay. So these are all exocrine glands. Now we will see what are endocrine glands. So before we see endocrine glands one by one, we will try to remember the sequence from top to bottom approach. So we will consider the top part of the body and we will go down and we will address each of the endocrine gland one by one. So if you start from your head region, in the head, hypothalamus is associated with pituitary gland and epithalamus is associated with pineal gland. So first is pituitary gland, second is pineal gland, third. Now let's come down. Pituitary, pineal in the head. Let's come down. Here there is thyroid and parathyroid. Thyroid, parathyroid. After parathyroid, if you come down, there is thymus. Here, thymus is situated dorsal to your collarbone. no, the collarbone is clavicle, we call it thigh bone. Okay, so thymus, if you go down, then you will have pancreas. So pancreas is present here also. Pancreas is present here also. Why? I will tell you later. Pancreas. After pancreas, if you go down, then you have gonads. So testes and ovary. Okay. So these are all endocrine glands, because testes, inside the testes, testosterone is produced, inside the ovary estrogen progesterone produced, and they are released in bloodstream. That's why. Now we will try to understand what releases what in the bloodstream. Pituitary, if it's anterior, that is adenohypophysis, will release trophic hormones. Okay, and if it is posterior pituitary, then secretion is not there but storage is there. So in the neurohypophysis, oxytocin and vasopressin, that is ADH, is stored. When they are released, again they are released in bloodstream only. So whether it is tropic or non-tropic does not matter, released in bloodstream. Pineal gland produces melatonin, which is sleep regulatory hormone, released in bloodstream. Thyroid releases triiodothyronine and tetraiodothyronine, also known as thyroxine. It also releases calcitonin, and calcitonin has the function to keep the calcium inside the bone. Okay, it retains the calcium inside the bone. Whereas the parathyroid hormone is antagonist to calcitonin. It maintains the calcium level in blood. Okay, parathyroid hormone. Parathyroid gland releases parathyroid hormone. Then thymus releases thymoxine, which helps in the maturation of T lymphocytes. So when you will learn human health and disease, there you will learn about lymphocytes. T lymphocyte get matured in the thymus. Okay. Then pancreas. So till now we have understood all the glands. Pancreas, I am telling you now. Okay, so this much is understood, so I will remove this and then we will move to pancreas and we will see how they are endocrine also and exocrine also. So suppose this is your stomach, food is coming from stomach, and the lower part is your duodenum. Duodenum means small intestine. So this is duodenum. This is coming from stomach, and here you can see there is pancreas. Okay, now in pancreas there are some gaps. These structures are known as pancreatic acini. Pancreatic acini, let's label them. Okay, this pancreatic acini will put their secretion. What do they secrete? Gastric enzymes like peptidase, lipase and all, which are helpful for digestion. Okay, so digestive, not gastric, sorry, digestive enzymes, they will put here in this duct, and from the duct they will be added into duodenum. So because there is presence of duct, this pancreas acini and the duct performs their function in terms of exocrine system because there is duct. So we can call this portion as exocrine because duct is used for the secretion. Now the question is, what is endocrine? Why it is endocrine? So here there are some islets of Langerhans. There are near about 1 to 2 million islets of Langerhans, which contributes for about 1 to 2% of the whole pancreas. Okay, so pay attention to this. This single islets of Langerhans has 4 kinds of cell in it. I am showing 4 kinds of cell with 4 colors. Okay, and there are many, 1 to 2 million I said. So let's zoom one of them. So these are the cells. Let's call them alpha cells. Let's call them beta. Delta cells. And the last one, pancreatic peptide, known as PP cells. As the name suggests, it will release pancreatic peptide, and pancreatic peptides will be released in the bloodstream. That's why endocrine. Next, delta, it releases somatostatin again in the bloodstream. Then beta cells of islets of Langerhans will release insulin. Okay, and the last one, alpha, will release glucagon. Now glucagon and insulin both are for glucose metabolism. They will maintain the sugar level in the blood. Insulin will decrease the sugar level in blood. Glucagon will increase it. So they are antagonists to each other. Glucagon. And this is a cluster of cell known as islets of Langerhans, which we have zoomed. And as you know, as I am telling you, that every cell will put its secretion here in the blood. Okay, so there is vascularization in the surrounding of islets of Langerhans. Whatever is secreted is poured in the blood. So if everything is poured in the blood, it means there is no duct used. That's why this particular islets of Langerhans performs endocrine function. So pancreas is an example of a heterocrine gland where endocrine function is also getting performed, exocrine function is also getting performed. So both the systems can perform simultaneously. Not simultaneously, they are performing themselves independently, but we can see them in a single organ here in pancreas. So it was all about endocrine system, exocrine system. If you compare the speed, then we can say that endocrine system is relatively slow, but it is a long term, it creates a long term impact on the target organ. slow but long-term impact or long-term function is performed by the target organ. Whereas exocrine system is relatively fast, but the problem is it is not long-term. It will perform the function, means the target organ on the arrival of secretion from exocrine gland will perform their function for a short duration. So short-term functioning is there, short-term impact we can say. Okay, that is the only difference. Okay, fine. That's all about endocrine and exocrine system. I hope you understood this. Thank you.